Today I'm going to share with you some photos from a surveillance that will not be used in court, and in a moment you'll understand why they won't be used. Great photos, everything went smoothly, but what I want you to know about today is when you take photos or video for a case and it ends up going to trial, and very few of the things that we do end up going to trial. That's kind of a last resort, but even maybe being introduced in a deposition, that type of thing. The key elements for you are, is it a fair and accurate representation of what actually happened? Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, which is premium private investigator training from someone who's been there and done that. And this is something that absolutely you will be asked if you're presenting photographic evidence in court. They're going to ask you if the image that you're showing, the photograph, is a fair and accurate representation of what things were like, what was going on at the scene or at that time. And you should be able to answer yes, absolutely, because you have not altered the film, you have not done anything to change the way things actually looked at the time right there. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not teaching you legal stuff here. There are two different times that photographs are introduced as evidence, and sometimes they're to substantiate something and sometimes they are to illustrate something. If the photos are illustrative, then they illustrate something that a person, probably you, has testified about. It explains a little bit. You can see what the person is talking about. The other time photos are introduced is when they have what I think of as being more substance to them. And what these photos are doing is just on their own being able to demonstrate and show something. Now, the reasons a photo is going to be introduced or is introduced is not anything you have to concern yourself about. That's a lawyer thing. And I've never even altered the way I handle things based on if I think something's going to be illustrative or if it's going to be used. No, I don't care how it's going to be used. I'm bringing back photographic evidence, and usually it is evidence that is going to back up the testimony that I'm going to be called to give. So then again, worst comes to worst and the thing goes to trial, it doesn't settle out of court, then I'm going to have to give testimony as to what I saw, and the video or photos is going to be there to back up my testimony. So I want to give you a little heads up as to what it's like in court in the real world when these things happen. It's not like on TV. It's very boring, very slow. The stakes are high for whoever's involved in the case, and if you're testifying, you should have nothing to worry about. You just literally tell the truth. Counsel for your side is going to have walked you through and talked about what they're going to ask you, what opposing counsel might ask you. I'm hoping this will be a fairly low stress thing for you, and the more you do it, the more you'll just realize this is part of the job. So while I explain to you here what's going to sound like or be like in court for you when you have photographic evidence, I'm going to show you some photos from a surveillance. These will not ever be used in court. For one, I've written on them. They're examples of work I've done because I've created the Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Surveillance. So I have labeled these as photos taken by me, the course creator. Also, I've blurred out the faces for privacy purposes, but I'll tell you one other interesting thing as well. So when you're in court, you'll be on the stand, and whoever wants to introduce the photographic evidence, probably your side initially, will first ask permission to have the photograph marked as an exhibit, and the judge will allow that. Then the lawyer will say, "May I approach the witness?" And this is when they come up to you. They're going to bring you the photograph, and they're going to ask you not about it or anything or where were you or what time. The first thing they're going to ask you is, do you recognize it? And they do this for a variety of reasons, including the fact that they can't ask leading questions. They can't walk you down the path. But you've prepared ahead of time with the attorney that on your side, you understand where this is going. But they're just going to ask you questions and you answer them. Do you recognize this? Yes. Then they're going to ask you, what do you recognize it to be? You give them a short, truthful answer. And here's the thing. They're going to ask you, is this a fair and accurate representation of the way things were at that time? So that's kind of what the questions will sound like, what you're going to hear going on around you, and then what they're going to ask you about. And then they may go into much more detail. And I do have a video on must-know tips for testifying in court. I highly recommend it. I don't know how many people have watched it. I know a bunch have, but it is really good to prepare you for testifying in court. And I know it's actually been downloaded and pirated. There's at least one security company, and it's a good security company. I love those guys, but I would rather get the views, have them play it online for their trainees, their new employees to learn from. But they've downloaded it. I'm not pleased about that, but they show it to all their employees. They do an annual training. They have to review that video. So the videos I'm posting here, they are quite good, and the one on how to testify in court, I'll put a link in the description, is quite good one to review for you. Also, don't forget my latest book is out over at Amazon. It's 51 Weird Private Investigator Tricks That Actually Work. How to trick, track, find, and follow someone like a pro. I need to get a shorter title than that. But it's over there, 51 Weird Private Investigator Tricks That Actually Work. Check it out. It's, to be honest with you, it's my latest, yes, but I think it might be my favorite one that I've written so far. In the meantime, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.